I'm Ed from Wright, and today we're going to go through a deeper dive on the ZK3. We launched the ZK3 about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. So we've got a good season under our belt with the machine. I'm going to just go in greater detail what makes the ZK3 different at the component level. So first off here, you can see that we put this guard on the front. And this guard, we specifically put it this way to protect the air filter. We don't want tree branches from getting underneath air filter, and helps protect the engine. Also, we now put the active pre-cleaner on these machines, so there's slanted fins under here. When the air goes in, it spins a fidget spinner, creating the denser particles to separate and come out of this little slot here. It helps the filter last much longer, about 3 times longer. Much of the front frame is very similar to the way the ZK was. We simplified some of the deck construction in here. You can see here now we've got an easier height adjustment. It's on the top, whereas it used to be on the bottom. And we still have the pretty similar belt drive. We lowered the belt drive slightly closer to the cutter deck. It allowed us to reduce the engine's height, reducing the center of gravity by just a small amount. And also, like most of our machines, the ZK runs a 2-belt drive here. And the advantage to that is that this is the tension side and this is the slack side. And our idler pulleys are on the slack side. And that greatly extends the life of the belt. Also, all the idler pulleys on this machine are double row bearing. The deck idlers are real large 6-inch idler, and all of our deck pulleys are about 1 inch larger than standard. What that does for us is the belt doesn't have to curve as much when it goes around, but also we don't need the belt to be as tight to get the torque that we need on the blade and on the spindle. Now the back of the deck here is a little bit different. Our traditional deck was slanted back a little bit right here. And the reason for that is when the air column would spin, it would expand as it goes around the left side of the chamber. Especially on the trim side, it would create more vacuum. It would give us a little bit better cut near the edge. However, in heavy conditions, or with a mulch deck in heavy conditions, we've found that this flat back can work better. In moderate conditions, on a weekly cut, you're really not going to notice the difference. But some of our larger machines now have this. We also lowered the battery. The battery used to be up a little bit higher. That gives us more clearance with the handle and again reduces the center of gravity. We have the same standard tires on this machine. The dual wheels are also available for it. But we're also going to begin offering a super single, which is a much wider single tire. And it gives you some of the effect of a dual, but it'll fit on a 61 or 72. But it's less than 61 inches wide, so you get that feature on this machine. We also have a weight kit that goes underneath the platform if you want to lower the center of gravity. Back here we made a couple changes. For one, the pad is now a stitch pad, the molded foam. It's a little bit stiffer, hugs you in a little bit better. But also you can take the pad off, so it's easier to change the oil or do other kinds of maintenance to the machine. The electrical system here got a few updates and changes. We've got a sealed key switch now with a sealed PTO switch, EFI throttle. The ZK is 100% an EFI machine now. And then here on the linkages, it's a very similar style we had it before. But you can see here this extra hole. What that extra hole does, there's one in the back and one in the front, if you can see that. This is in the middle position. If you move these linkages into the forwards hole, the mower top end speed is a little bit slower, but the controls will be buttery soft. If you put it in this back hole, it has a longer throw, so it'll go a little faster, but you'll have a little bit more back pressure in your hands. We also now have a mill light, giving you an engine alert, and then 12-volt charge port. You know, if you want to use a tire inflator or charger or something, that's there for you. Also, a lot of our newer machines now have a knockout for a key switch here, and there's an accessory plug you can attach to it. You put a switch for things like lights. The fuel system has been simplified now, so both tanks feed into a T right behind here, and the on-off valve is now fixed to the frame. Very simple and straightforward here, and the fuel line routing is cleaner than ever. Now, the oil reservoirs, they used to be square bottles. We now use a larger bottle so that we can keep the oil level lower in here for the same amount of capacity. You only need this to be slightly up at the bottom, in order to avoid having residue, slosh, and dust cling to the top of the cap. Also, if you're a long-time ZK owner, you may have noticed that you have two lines coming out of the bottom of a ZK2. We now have one hydro line going down to the wheel motor, and we have a top vent line. That allows us to do oil changes faster. So the oil goes down one hose and the air comes up the other hose. Did a couple things in here to make it a little more comfortable with this plate, the lever. There's more spring force in the deck lift, so it's easier to use now than it was before. And we put the height select pin on the right hand side. That's just to help the tolerance and alignment of the cogs on the height selector here, matching up with the pins there. Now back here, a couple small changes. We now use heavier duty rod ends up on this part of the control, and we bump these out further to the right and left sides here, giving more clearance around the fan. And we also, it's pretty hard to see here, there's a fin there that goes near the edge of the engine deck. If you hit something with the mower, that fin helps keep the engine deck from swaying side to side or moving over and damaging the fan against this lift arm. Filter's easy to get to. The hydro lines on the front of the pumps are easier to get to. We've also changed many of our fittings and clamps now. So we use this woven copper hose. We use a multiple barb fitting now instead of a beaded tube fitting. We use a smoother band clamp here that doesn't bite into the hose over time. So we've done a lot in order to reduce or eliminate leak points or weepage points on the machine. The harness is also now routed differently. So before there was a harness traveling through here. Now it's all attached to the back of the upright as it goes down to platform switch here. And you can see we use a sealed style platform switch. Now, while we're looking at the platform, we made a couple changes here. You can see there's a contoured edge here. It's a little more comfortable if you're mowing on a hill. We changed the front of the platform here, so it's less likely to collect debris or to fall through the cracks there. And in this area up here, when the toe shield fits in, we've opened it up a whole lot because this is where grass would build up before. So we made a couple changes there. The platform also now has this shock absorber that makes it ride smoother. It's less bouncy and more of a gliding feeling. And also, I'll just point out that under here, you can see we've got these rubber springs. They're great because they exponentially get tighter as they get lower. But if you find that the platform is a little stiff for you, you can take out one or two of those and it'll ride much smoother. So for example, you take off this one, you take off the other middle one, and you get a little more travel. The ZK3 has a little bit more travel on the platform than the ZK2 had. Also, while we're back here, I'll point out the pump drive. Kind of a significant change that we made was that previously these pulleys were attached with a straight bore, and over time they could get loose and it could become an expensive repair. So now what we do is we have a taper shaft here, and this nut, regardless of the tolerances, this nut locks that pulley onto the shaft real tight and snug. We also changed the belt path. So previously, the idler arm pivot was here, and it went towards the center, and you have to pass the belt over the top of the pulley in order to install the belt. Now you don't have to do that. With the pivot over here on the left-hand side, you can just loop the belt through here and around the engine pulley, and so you can do it much easier, in many cases without any tools. And you'll see here, I'd said that we moved to all double row bearings. This is a double row bearing on this idler, helping it last much longer, idler pulley. Everything on our machines comes down to dollars per an acre, dollars per an hour, and so when we make a decision on something like this, where it costs us a couple more bucks more, could eliminate a complete downtime event for you. All right, coming around the left-hand side, same fuel tanks. We now ship them with buckets if it's a 61 or a 72-inch deck. But if it's a 52, we have the bag that would have been on the Gen 2 because it's narrower here. You don't want that blocking your line of sight or hanging off the side of the machine. So we now put a bucket on here. And here you can see that additional spring that we added to make the deck lift easier to use. And around the engine, you can see things are a little more opened up. So around that drain tube there, it's more open. And the hydro lines here, we actually changed a number of things, but the lines now come up parallel to each other on both sides, and the less chance of them rubbing something or snagging on something with an additional clamp here. So a number of things there to improve the hydro hose routing. Overall, the ZK in its 3rd gen now has a lot of refinements. It's a true workhorse. It's one of our highest performing machines, and it's been doing very well for us. So that's the ZK3, and this is fully available for sale this spring. Comes in 52, 61, and 72-inch decks, and also comes with the 40-horse Vanguard EFI engine or a Kawasaki Evo EFI engine. We got some other video content around the Evo engine if that's something you're interested in learning more about. So that's the ZK3 in a nutshell, and I hope you have a great spring. Thank you.